Hello. Welcome to the Lot of It podcast. My name is Dana Normandy, and this is where ambition meets imperfection. We talk about literally anything and everything, and today I want to have a conversation about being delusional on purpose for our benefit. Let me take you back to a conversation that I was having with someone a few days ago about this dream of mine to be an entrepreneur and step out into building a business and really doing the thing, quote unquote, that I've wanted to do for a while. However, having some undecidedness about which direction to step out in. If you don't know me, I am very passionate about being an entrepreneur. I currently work a 9-to-5 and I do enjoy, and actually I think it's safe to say that I love my job, but there's just always been this yearning part of me, tugging inside that wants me to not necessarily quit my job and go out on my own, but do something small for myself. And that's also a form of what this podcast is as well, putting myself out there and doing it because I love it. But the undecidedness comes from, I think, a place where I have so many interests, and like someone once said to me, it's I have all these little embers and I'm waiting for one to catch flame and turn into this big fire, and I have to choose which ember turns into a fire. And I am a Libra. So if you know anything about zodiac signs, I'm not super into them, but apparently being a Libra has to do with not being able to make a decision for the life of you, and I definitely lean towards that in my life. So I started talking to a few people and just bouncing ideas back and forth, and this one conversation that I was having, this person very much so leaned towards the negative side of everything. It's almost like any situation, any scenario beyond staying right where you are, working the same job, or just remaining comfortable. It seems as though anything beyond that, in this conversation that I was having, this person had a negative outlook on it. It would be too hard, or it would just fail, and things similar to it have failed before, so therefore this is also bound to fail and you shouldn't even try. Just all the things around that, and it was very interesting to me psychologically, because I've talked to many different people in my life with many different perspectives, and it seemed as though this was one of the more negative perspectives that I've ever heard before. And it was so interesting to me psychologically because it really made me realize that obviously there are so many fish in the sea and people in the world and so many different perspectives and takes on life and walks of life. But it was so interesting that there are actually people out there who are hyper negative about everything, and I believe remain stuck in certain ways because of that. And then I was talking to someone else just about this concept and how your thoughts become your words and your words become your actions, and how it really has this snowball effect and trickles down. It's really not bullshit if you think about it, that what you think and say and do ultimately changes the entire course and trajectory of your life. For example, if you are thinking positive thoughts and believing in yourself in your head that although taking, risks is hard, I believe that I can do it and that I will figure it out. When an opportunity comes up, you are going to be more likely to take that opportunity because you've been telling yourself that you can handle risk, that you can take on a challenge that will ultimately become rewarding. And you've had this sort of positive, uplifting self-talk that has reflected in your actions and the way that you speak about yourself and the way you speak to others. So when a new opportunity comes about, a job or something like that, you're more likely to take it because you've been telling yourself for a period of time that you believe in yourself. Whereas flip the coin on the other end, and another person who has just always told themselves that, nothing ever works out for me. I always get the short end of the stick. There's no point in even trying because it always fails. Like, I was just bound for this life. I have no luck. You know what I mean? And then an opportunity comes up for them. They're most likely not going to take the opportunity because that's just the mental record that's been playing over and over in their subconscious. So they're not going to take that opportunity. And like that one opportunity could literally change their life. So I really, truly believe that this stems all the way back to the thoughts that we are thinking in our heads and how small that may seem, but how it can literally change the entire course of your life, the decisions you make, the way other people communicate with you. Like it has an impact. And that is where being delusionally optimistic comes into play. If you're on the internet at all, you may have seen a trend going around about being delulu. Being delulu is the solulu, like being delusional is the solution to everything. And I think that can be misconstrued a bit because it's not all about just being delusional and then waiting for those delusions to come to you. Like, it's not about just sitting around and thinking to yourself, I am just going to be rich one day. It's just going to happen. I'm not going to have to do anything. And an envelope is going to arrive on my doorstep with $3 million in it. And that's it. I'm taken care of for the rest of my life. That is not productive. And that's just honestly a waste of time and literally delusional, like literally psychotic. What I'm talking about is pairing being delusionally positive with action. Because it's not about ignoring reality, but choosing to believe in the version of reality that you want. Because isn't that what it all comes down to? There are millions of different ways that our lives could play out. Not to get into multiverse theory and things like that, but the best way that I can explain it is if you have watched the television series Loki on Disney+. I haven't watched it in a few years at this point, but I remember these different timelines being displayed in one of the episodes, and it was a big theme within, the entire series, like time in general and how different things, can change time and split things off and split timelines and things like that. And that is very accurate in our lives. The fact that, if I choose to pack up today and drive across the country, I could literally do that. I own a car. It might not go very well. I might, I'd lose my job because I didn't show up to work and my family might be concerned about me. But theoretically, logistically, I could pack a couple of clothes in a backpack, walk outside to my car right now and just start driving. I could fill my tank and just start driving across the country with no plan. And that in itself could completely change the direction of my life. Maybe I would randomly stumble across this little shop and pick up a job there and meet new people and new connections and figure out that I love Arizona. I've never been to Arizona, but who knows? It could completely change my life. And although it sounds crazy and I have, no intention to actually go do that because it just doesn't, I don't know, I don't have a desire to go do that right now. And that's an extreme example, but every decision that we make leads to a different timeline. And actually, there's a book that I read, and I cannot remember the name of the book right now, but I find this concept of timelines very, very interesting. And in this book, it basically split into two timelines after the first decision that this lady made. And if I'm remembering correctly, it was either she decided to hang out with her friends that night or not. And when she did decide to hang out with them, she got into a car accident. And when she didn't, she, didn't get into a car accident. And then the whole book splits and you end up seeing the two timelines. And both timelines end up, being good and bad. They both ultimately work out. But because of that one decision, her life in both timelines was completely different. And I find that to be true constantly, over and over again in my life. For example, the other day, I was scrolling through my personal email that is completely cluttered with so many junk emails. It's crazy. I need to take control of it. But I randomly saw this email from this yoga studio that I've gone to before. I don't go to it regularly, but I've been to it before. They had my email. I get newsletters from them all the time. Usually don't open them. But the title to this one was Join Us for a Women in Business event. And that intrigued me because I am a woman and I am interested in business. So I click on it. I find out that it's a little get together at the yoga studio hosted by, this lady who seemed really nice. And it was introvert friendly. Like they were promoting that, even if you're an introvert, the space is introvert friendly and like we're not all going to be talking, like there'll be some meditation. And I'm like all about that, like yoga, meditation vibe. And then sprinkle a little business in there, like I'm in. So I signed up for it. I put it on my calendar. It was a few weeks out. Fast forward a few weeks to the Saturday that this event was happening. I had completely forgotten that it was happening. And I got the alert on my phone, Women in Business event in 2 hours. And I was like, absolutely not. Like, it's Saturday. I've had a long week. The last thing that I want to do right now is get dressed and go drive to this event and talk to a bunch of people that I've never met before and potentially have to be vulnerable. And that just sounds awful. Like, to be quite honest, I want to just drive to my boyfriend's house and like watch a movie. That's all I want to be doing right now. But I sat there a moment and I thought, this could change your life. Or it couldn't. But regardless, you're going to learn something and you're going to experience something that might make you feel something. Like it'll make you feel something one way or another that could lead to something else. And I was like, I will be so disappointed in myself if I don't go to this. So long story short, I went. I met a bunch of amazing women who were really inspiring and own their own businesses. I had great conversations with people. And the woman who was running the event ended up reaching out to me afterwards. And now we have formed this awesome connection and we've met for coffee and uplifted each other in so many ways. And it's just crazy how one decision can change your life. And going back to the point of positive delusion, being delusional in a positive way, I really believe that it opens yourself up to these possibilities, to what your life could become, to if you're not happy where you are right now, you can create something different. And it is not necessarily going to be easy, and it's not necessarily going to just be a straight line, like I'm unhappy now and then I'm happy tomorrow. Like there are ups and downs. It is not linear. This path is not linear. But the difference is opening yourself up to that and maybe being a little delusional about it. Because either way, whether you're on the negative end or the positive end, you're being delusional in some sense because we do not know what tomorrow brings. We can have all the experience in the world. We could have lived 103 years on this earth, and we still do not know what tomorrow brings. So although that wisdom and the stories and the lessons and the things that you know are helpful and help your inner compass, help you make decisions, you still cannot predict the future. So whether you're being negative about your future or positive about your future, you're being delusional about your future because God can just take your future and twist it around in 1 second. So my thought is, why not be delusionally positive? Because the benefits and the impact is ultimately better than being delusionally negative. Listen, you guys, in a world that spends most of their time on screens, I am all for a healthy escape. Whether that's just stepping away from the screens or getting lost in a good book for a while, we need that break. And if you're looking for that kind of escape, you have got to check out sarahcrownbooks.com. Some people are born storytellers, and let me tell you, Sarah Crown is one of them. From recording her first stories as a child to studying under top Hollywood story experts like John Truby, she has built a life around words, weaving thrilling narratives with depth and heart. With degrees in psychology, education, and law, Sarah brings a unique perspective to her writing, one that grips readers and just doesn't let go. Trust me, her stories are the perfect way to unplug and dive into something unforgettable. Her latest novel, All These Threads of Time, is the perfect blend of heart-pounding suspense and mind-bending time travel. Set in the 80s, when Sylvie Mitchell discovers that she can jump through time, she's determined to save her family from a serial killer. But the past fights back in ways that she would have never expected. If you love mysteries with a twist and time travel that'll keep you on the edge of your seat, this book is for you. And if you're looking for more than just stories, Sarah's Substack called A Busy Lady is your backstage pass to her writing journey. She takes you behind the scenes with inspiration, writing tips, and more. Whether you're a writer, a reader, or just someone looking to live a more creative life, A Busy Lady will give you the tools and motivation you need. Don't miss out on Sarah's thrilling books and creative wisdom. Check out sarahcrownbooks.com for more information on her books and Substack. That's sarahcrownebooks.com. In stories, we find ourselves. I want to leave you with a few steps on how to be delusional strategically. How can you, take this mindset and actually make it work out for you? Step 1, pick a wildly unrealistic goal that you secretly want. And think of really what that is for yourself. Is it financial freedom? Is it living on the beach? Is it traveling abroad once a year? Is it meeting someone who's kind and wants to start a family with you? Is it having enough time to yourself to pick up your favorite hobby and have that not feel like a burden? Whatever that thing is for you, it can be wildly unrealistic. Even myself, I feel like with what I just listed off, those could be wildly unrealistic examples to someone, but you can get even crazier. You can be like, I want to live on an island. I want to own an island. I want to own a yacht. I don't know. I mean, those are very sort of materialistic things, but you get the point. I will use myself as an example. One of my wildly sort of unrealistic goals is that I would love to be a snowbird, which is essentially where you split your time in between living down south and living up north. I grew up in New England, and I still live in New England. However, I desperately want to be down south in the sun, in the sunshine, and just getting some sort of vitamin D in comparison to the just freezing cold days on end of just rain and clouds and I don't even know what has become of New England's weather, but I'm not here for it anymore. But New England is still home to me. I don't want to just move away down south and never come back. So one of my wildly unrealistic goals is to have 2 homes, one down south and one here up north, and be able to split my time between the two whenever I please. And that is, to me, considered wildly unrealistic because right now I can't even afford to own 1 house, never mind 2, and never mind the maintenance on both and the mortgage on both. And, when you're not in one, it has to be kept up with, and that all, costs a lot of money. And on top of that, I currently work, an in-person job that I rely on to pay my bills and to survive. And it's unrealistic. I couldn't just say to my job, sayonara, I'm going down south for the next 6 months, be back in June, because I would get, laid off. Can't just disappear for 6 months. So there's a lot of moving parts to that. Right now, at this point in my life, that is wildly unrealistic. So that's step 1. Pick your wildly unrealistic goal. Step 2, act like it's inevitable, but not like it's effortless. So the key here is to feel in your bones that this thing is meant for you. Whatever this goal is, it's meant for you and it's going to come for you, but it's not going to be effortless. You can't just sit around waiting for it. Which leads us to step 3, which is mapping out small actions you can take as if it were already happening. So for example, if we go back to my unrealistic goal, what this might look like for me is putting away a little bit of money every month, saving it towards that goal. Even though that might, on its surface, sound a little crazy and stupid, like, why are you putting away money for that right now? Like, you're $20 a month, like, you could save $20 a month for the next 10 years and that's still not going to get you your goal. Like, that's stupid. Why are you doing that? But the point is to act like this thing is already coming to you, like you're preparing for it. You know what I mean? You're working toward it in every single means that you can right now. Even though you don't have the money, even though maybe all I can afford is to put away $20 a month towards this goal right now, I believe that in the future, I will be able to save more towards that goal. It might also look like researching towns for both houses. Where do I want to live down south? Which state? South Carolina, Georgia, Florida? Which town? What's important to me? Being near the ocean or being away from the ocean? And then same thing with up north. Which state in New England? Because really it does not have to be the exact town that I grew up in, as long as I'm sort of in the vicinity. And then maybe also doing some research on what snowbirds do. How do they balance both houses? Do they have to hire someone to maintain the house that they're not in? Do they rent out the house that they're not in when they're not in it? Where do you strike the balance? You can do all of this research, even if it feels silly, because it's like, why would I waste my time researching this right now? This is never going to happen for me. This is wildly unrealistic. But no, that's the problem. It's only unrealistic because you're not willing to put any time or effort into it right now. If you show up like you know it's going to happen, like you don't have worries, like it is going to happen, you are going to work towards it. If you show up that way, doors will start to open that you wouldn't have seen open before. And if you show up in the negative way, like, and just keep telling yourself, that'll never happen, that'll never happen, that'll never happen, then the doors are just going to shut and they're going to remain invisible and you're never going to see them again. Step 4, show up with unbothered energy because you already know. So don't have this pressure on this thing. So for me, it would be like, just being sort of carefree about it, like not being so like, oh my God, I got to make this happen. Oh my God, I can only save $20 a month towards it. That's horrible. That's not going to get me anywhere. I need to save more money, more money, more money. I'm so stressed. I'm so upset. Oh my God, my life sucks. La 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 la. You know what I mean? You don't want to do that. You just want to be chill to the best of your ability because you know, you believe that this thing, it's going to come. In God's timing, it's going to come. And if you have the means to go out and reach for this goal in a bigger way than maybe I can towards this example that I'm giving, then that's even better. But just try your best to remain unbothered because you already know that this thing is accessible. If your wildly unrealistic goal was to meet someone who is kind and loves you and wants to start a family with you, you know, showing up with unbothered energy might look like reframing what you say to yourself after a bad date. Instead of saying, oh my God, this always goes bad, this never works out, like no one's going to love me. Instead of saying that, just say, well, I'm one person closer to that person who I know will be kind and want to start a family with me. It's all about your mindset. And step 5 is to keep your receipts. In other words, track your wins, no matter how big or how small. So in my example, that might look like at the end of the year, after saving $20 a month, you know, I've got $240 saved towards my goal, just celebrating that, just being proud of myself, instead of being like, oh my God, that sucks. $240. That's literally like, that's not going to pay for anything. Like this is stupid. No. Instead of doing that, being like, wow, I'm proud of myself. That $240 I could have spent on anything else. I could have spent it on coffee. I could have spent it on clothes. I could have spent it on just things that I don't even know where the money went. But instead, I saved that towards my dream because I believe in that dream. And what this ultimately ends up doing is it aligns your actions and it aligns your attitude and the energy that you bring to things towards your goal. Because if you're researching how to be a snowbird, or if you're saving money every month, like this is naturally going to be on your mind, and the decisions that you make are going to be aligned with it. So when you're at the mall with your friends and everyone else is just dropping $500 bills on clothes and shoes and whatever, and maybe you would have normally done that, maybe you step back in that moment because, this goal has been a priority to you, and you say, you know what? I don't think I need to buy so many clothes because I think my future goal is more important than this short-term satisfaction in the moment. I think I'd rather, I'm going to take the money that I almost just spent on all of these clothes right now, and I'm going to put it towards my goal. And then all of this just starts aligning and you start talking to people. And then maybe all of a sudden you end up talking to someone in person who is a snowbird and they're like, girl, I figured this out. Like, let me put you on. Like, this is how I did it. This is what you're going to want to do. Like, let me give you some tips. And like, it all ends up clicking into place as long as you believe in it and you're freaking delusional about it, because that could change your life. It sure in hell has better odds than just sitting around and moping around and just saying, oh, well, nothing ever works out for me. Nothing ever works out for me. There's no reason in taking a chance because nothing works out for me and I'm just not even going to try. And listen, I do want to say something to you if that is typically how you think and like your mental process. I see you. I see that you don't want to get your hopes up and then get hurt. Realists, quote unquote, realistic people were once dreamers who just had their heart broken along the way. They had dreams. Everyone does. We are all born with dreams. And the older you get and the more that you walk through this life and just keep getting your heart broken over and over and over again and your dreams just not working out, I understand how you get to where you are. I understand how this just sounds stupid. And you would rather just sit in that mindset of nothing works out for me because that's all you've ever experienced. And I just want you to know that that's valid, but you are the only person who can change that. So don't blame anyone else. Don't blame situations in the past. Don't act like you can predict the future just because you know how the past went. Because like I said, whether you're negative or positive, you're delusional. We do not know what God has planned for tomorrow. And our best bet is to open ourselves up to a positive possibility. What's the worst that could happen? If you're working towards something positive, if you're working towards a goal and you're delusional about it happening and you believe that it will happen, what's the worst that could happen? Like I said before, it's not about ignoring reality, but choosing to believe in the version of reality you want. There are millions of different ways that your life could go. Millions of different branches on the tree of your timeline of existence. Every single choice you make, from choosing to talk to someone on the street or choosing not to talk to them, every single small decision creates a new branch, a new possibility of a timeline. Be delusional about your future. Be optimistic. Chase your goals because there's nothing to lose. You do not want to be sitting on your deathbed with all of the regrets of the opportunities that you missed because you were too afraid to face your dreams. Because you were too afraid to be a little crazy, to be a little delusional. Because you felt too stuck in a box and you didn't want to stand out too much and you didn't want people to not like you for taking a chance. Screw that. Go chase your dreams. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoy this podcast, please, please, please drop a comment, give it a follow. Any support is really appreciated. You can find this podcast on Instagram at The Lot of It Podcast. Episodes are on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music. Pretty much anywhere that you stream your podcasts, you can find The Lot of It. New episodes every other Wednesday, and I can't wait to talk to you next time. Bye-bye.